Welcome to Professional Women's Wellness Podcast, where ambitious women discover the path to total well-being. I'm your host, Dr. Peggy, creator of the Stop Emotional Eating School, a transformative program designed to help you conquer emotional eating, gain confidence, and make peace with your food, your body, and yourself. Here we're all about inspiration, education, and motivation to help you thrive in every area of your life. So be sure to stay till the end for a special message just for you. But let's get on. Today, I'm honored and excited to introduce my next guest. She's a homemade-based chef that helps professionals to make healthful, easy meals and have fun in the kitchen. And that is the best thing I've heard yet. Fun in the kitchen. A lot of people won't say that. She is the author of Kitchen Chaos, Culinary Bliss, and Organize and Enjoy Cooking. And they are available on Amazon, and we'll give you the links later. But she helps you to discover the joy in making your own food to share with others. And all of you will benefit from better health, including more energy. And Mary even raised her son how to cook for himself, and we'll talk about that in this interview. And Mary and her husband have a large food garden. For 3 years, they sold vegetables at farm markets. And after being trained in culinary management, Mary cooked professionally for 10 years, including the Banff Springs Hotel in Alberta, Canada, and several well-known restaurants in Victoria, British Columbia. She is a distinguished Toastmaster. She helps members to develop communication and leadership skills. So don't judge me. So Mary's goal for the world to see is everyone, she wants you to see that everyone is capable of making their own foods daily and build a community around sharing food. Now, this is such a good topic. So many people that want to be healthy, but they really don't even know where to start or how to do what you are teaching. So, Mary, what I'd love to hear from you is, how did you get where you are today? Tell me a little bit about your story, because that's always the best thing to find out. And this is my favorite part, because then I get to know all about your past.
Thank you very much, Peggy, for having me. And the cooking coach puts together all the pieces that you just talked about. My professional cooking career, being a mom of a son with ADHD, I learned about brain health and how to help him. So I learned about learning styles. I enjoy growing foods, so I love vegetables and explored that. And another piece was the Toastmasters. I learned how to help people that are afraid of public speaking. So people feel that way about cooking. That one lady I encountered, she was told she's no good in the kitchen. So she wanted to surprise her family with a bûche de Noël, which is a Yule log. So I worked with her one-on-one, and we produced a beautiful dessert, and she made one for her family. They thought she had bought it. It was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
She even crystallized the cranberries and the rosemary, which she found out she had it growing in her backyard. She said, someone told me, I think I grow it in the backyard. And we went, and yeah, she had rosemary in her backyard. So she put out this beautiful dessert, and her family thought she had bought it. Yeah. And she teaches coding and law in college.
Oh,
and
wow.
She felt she couldn't cook anything.
Yeah, it's interesting how some people have such high skills in one area, but they diminish their own abilities to do other things, right?
Yes.
And what I was curious about is, did you grow up like with this passion for cooking, or where did it all come from?
It actually came from my mom not wanting to cook either, because she was a mom of 5 kids. She stayed home and she didn't like the day-to-day cooking. And so having 3 daughters, she was able to farm it off on us. So we prepared meals. One time she went away to visit my sister who had moved out. So the one that was at home, she cooked the mashed potatoes and she thought they were really boring. So she put yellow food coloring in them. They were bright, bright yellow. And my dad was not impressed. He was a British background. I loved it. And I talked about that. She passed away recently, and I talked about that at her celebration of life. And her daughter said, yeah, she thought mashed potatoes were so boring. She was always putting different things in it.
Oh,
Mashed potatoes. So yeah, that's part of having fun in the kitchen, is playing with your food.
Playing with your food. Listen, I know a lot of people who do that. Wow. So when you of course now you teach people immensely, and where was the turning point from just cooking as a chef to transforming into really teaching people how to do it?
Well, I get bored and I like to find different things to do. So I was thinking about what I could do after. I did work for the government for almost 30 years. So I was looking for something to do after that. And I like to help people. And I know that there's generations out there now that do not cook.
Yes.
There's people that grow up going to fast food restaurants. And I focus on entrepreneurs because as they get into their 30s, their health is starting to feel the ramifications of eating poorly. And, you have weight gain, get diabetes, the energy is low. So you need to eat healthy. And I just thought that I could help people to figure this out. Going back to my mom, there's ways of figuring out how to make it easier to cook. So.
Wow, that is terrific. And tell us a little bit about your farm. What kind of stuff did you grow?
Oh my goodness. My husband's a researcher. He likes to find different things. So we grow a lot of different varieties. I found even at the farm market, sometimes you find the same vegetables and selection that you find in the grocery store. And we would grow different things. So example is radishes. We had 7 different kinds of radishes one week.
Wow.
So I made beautiful bouquets of radishes. And
I didn't even know there were many species. Yeah, I only know the radish.
There's a white ping pong. There's a Rudy, which is a red round one. There's French breakfast, which is red and white. There's a hakurei. There's a Japanese pink one. And there's a white icicle. So that's a few of them.
And now do you find
crazy stuff that sticks in my brain?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like you said, you could make a bouquet.
Yeah.
Now, with farming, because I know you're in cold area, right? You're in Canada, which is usually much colder than here in North Carolina anyway. When you had your farm, could you only do it certain seasons, or how did that work?
Well, we continue to grow. I fortunately have 1/3 of an acre with my house on it, and so we were able to winter over Swiss chard and kale, and of course the herbs, the rosemary you can pick anytime. I live in Victoria, and it's warmer here next to the ocean. But there are ways. There's fellows in Maine, I think, that are quite good at growing year-round.
Yeah. Well, do they use like greenhouses and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that would be a necessary thing to have. If
Yes.
you're a farmer, wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, tell me a little bit more about your business right now, what you're doing, how you're doing it. Because, gosh, I can't even imagine uh, being a farmer, being a professional chef, being a Toastmaster guru.
Mm-hmm.
You have had a lot of things going on. Um, and when you first started teaching, did you teach in large groups or just individually? How was that?
I do both. I attend the summits and I do speaking and promote my book and my business, my coaching. I like to work one-on-one with someone and help them to figure out how they can fit cooking into their schedule. I don't actually teach people how to cook very often. It's more about how to bring their skills and their time and their interest together so that they can be successful in the kitchen. And I'll work one-on-one with people. I'm starting a master class, which is going to be on the first Sunday of each month. And yeah, for 1 hour, Sunday mornings, it'll be in the early afternoon in Pacific, Eastern time. But we'll talk about cooking. I'll do questions and answers and just trying to get people interested in talking about cooking.
That's great. And I just want to address, there's so many people that have issues with health issues. You might have diabetics or cardiovascular disease. I mean, there's so many things, as we all know, where people really do need to pay attention to what kind of foods they're eating. And does that come in anywhere when you're teaching?
It does. I'm not a nutritionist. I come from the cooking part of it. So what I do is take their recommendations that they've received from a nutritionist and I can help them work that into how they want to cook the kind of food that they would prefer eating if possible and figure out ways to help them incorporate it into their life so that they can do it on a daily basis.
Do you find that because so many women are in professions that take them away from the kitchen quite a bit, and I always hear, as you had mentioned, first of all, sadly, there's generations that are just living on fast food, and we know that the health impact of that is unsurmountable, really. So what do you suggest when people are so strapped with limited time? And yeah, they have kids at home, they have other obligations. I hear that that's the biggest issue for working women. I don't have time.
I do use the slow cooker quite regularly. You can start preparing the food the night before, chop it up, and then have it ready the next morning, and then allow it to cook through the day. And slow cooker recipes have been revamped a lot over the last few years.
Have they? Oh.
Yeah. So they're much better than the old recipes where the food got really overcooked and awful.
Yeah.
And also, if the kids are old enough, like 4 and up, they can help out in the kitchen. They like to chop vegetables and just keep the environment safe for them, that they're not waving the knives around. And remember, I had a son with ADHD, so
oh my goodness, it all.
He loved chopping vegetables, and that was time that we could spend in the kitchen. And they do well with parallel time. So he'd be over here chopping, and I would be at the stove cooking, and then we could talk together.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that worked really well with him. And he was happy helping out in the kitchen.
And I know you had mentioned he is now 35. but he's
Yes.
been able to be independent, cooking for himself all
Mm-hmm.
these years, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think,
Mm-hmm.
wow, someone that may have had difficulty learning about certain things, and you gave him that gift. What
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful gift that is. That
Yes.
is so awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so back to time management. You have
Mm-hmm.
the slow cooker, which I think they're amazing. Are there any other things that if people don't have a slow cooker, for instance, that you would recommend put something healthy together without taking 3 hours or being boring?
Yeah. Well, it is necessary to spend some time in the kitchen. And my husband was at a Airbnb not too long ago, and there was one fellow. Actually, all three of them don't like to eat in restaurants regularly because of all the sodium and
Mm,
over processed foods that's available in the restaurants. So he was batch making his wraps for the week.
oh, okay. There you go.
So yeah, he was going to be there for 5 days. So he made 5 wraps for himself, put them in the fridge. And my husband always has his food with him. And yeah, you
Wonderful.
can, with a bit of planning and like they all planned to be in the Airbnb where there was a full kitchen that they could use. So it does take time, but also realizing there's cooking helps your physical health because you're bending and stretching and lifting. It helps your mental health because you're sequencing and organizing and doing different things. It can be social if you have people in the house that you can cook with. It can be relaxing by putting on music to help you. And it can be seen as a pastime, a type of hobby to take you like back to the entrepreneur, take time away from the busy work and just have time to relax and do something nourishing for themselves. Then it's a mindset for cooking too. It's
Yeah.
giving yourself permission to do it. It's like going to the gym. You can be too busy to go to the gym, but you know that you're going to feel much better afterwards.
Sure.
Your body's going to say thank you. Your future self is going to say thank you. So it's just a matter of prioritizing.
That's great. I love the batching. I think that's a really important thing, especially for people who travel. And I'm wondering when you have younger kids at home and you want to cook ahead, um, that you do you use like a freezing method, or what do you do for things like that? If they say, okay, Sunday's cook day and we're going to make
Uh-huh.
the, the food for the week.
Well, you need a chart on the wall with your weeks. You can write it down. You don't have to keep it in your head. You can record it, and then everybody in the house knows what's going on too. Yeah, I do use the freezer a lot. We do have a lot of freezers, partly because we have the vegetables from the garden and the fruit, but freezing and having good freezer packages. Apparently the takeout containers are not very good to reuse and reheat. So, and also trying to get away from plastic, but that's really difficult.
And it's
Tackle one problem at a time.
yeah, that's right.
So
I know a
yeah.
few years ago, I took out every single plastic container and replaced it with glass. And I don't regret that. I really don't.
Mhm.
And I found that things taste better right away.
Okay.
Now you're not getting that
Yeah.
plasticky taste, but yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for people. For some people, it's a challenge to even do it a little bit at a time. Though you can do it.
Mhm.
You can get the
Mhm.
proper food storage containers for sure.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you a little bit about being a chef in all these wonderful places because I'm like, wow, like it must have been a big deal to be a chef at the places we mentioned. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that, because in the U.S., we're not sure what those places are. So maybe you can give us the significance of these places you were honored to
Mhm.
be cooking in.
Well, Banff Springs, that's Canada Pacific Railroad hotels. So they're really big, old, ancient places. And they are connected to the school I was attending. I was attending George Brown in Toronto, and the chefs there helped us get the jobs at the Banff Springs. And we were there for the summer, which was absolutely amazing.
Like that.
One thing I got to do was put out the buffet every day. People thought it was boring, and I have an art background, so I just saw it as a way of arranging and making things look pretty and stuff. So and there was also a big balcony where they had a huge barbecue, and people would be able to get hamburgers from the balcony from that area. So we cooked outside there and made hamburgers for the tourists.
But it's
Yeah,
so,
and
that
then
is,
the Sheraton in Toronto was fascinating because they brought out a new menu at the time, and so the executive chef and the sous chefs were all working together with the cooks, and they had, you know, media people and special people attending. The waiters were all in lines, and they had white gloves on, and they filed in and out with the dishes. It was just
it must
amazing.
have been so
Yeah,
cool.
that hotel, that was back in 1980, and it was a 54-story hotel, so it was
Ah,
huge. And I worked in
wow.
the bakery for a little while, and that was a lot of fun. It was one woman's job to decorate the cake every day. There was a cake centerpiece on that buffet, and it was her job to decorate it every day, and she always did it differently. So it
That
was
sounds,
it was fun.
yeah. I
Yeah.
can hear the fun in your voice. It was
Yeah,
fun. I
it
like you. I
was.
like what I'm doing. Was there a specific reason you left the last of your chef jobs?
Oh, well, I moved to Victoria. I couldn't afford to live in Toronto. I didn't know how to live cheap enough on my own in Toronto with beginning cook's wages. So I moved to Victoria and lived with my sister, and I cooked here for a few years. Then I had my son, and I thought there was more security working for the government, and that was 30 years ago. So I
And what
retired.
did you do for the government?
I worked in pensions. So I
Oh,
worked in old age security and Canada pension.
that's a
So
big deal right
yeah,
there.
and
Oh God.
I was also a union representative, so I
Oh my
continued to
God.
help people. So
You have
yeah.
done so many things. Oh, wow. You're so well-rounded, you know?
Mm.
That's so cool. That's great. Now, tell us a little bit about your books.
Well, actually, it's one book. This organized part was a byline of the book.
Oh,
But
okay.
yes, this is what it looks like.
Oh, look at how pretty that
Yeah.
is.
So it's
Mary
just
Lummerding.
a little guide to help people to get organized in the kitchen. And once you have, the pieces put together, like one lady complained that she always had to go in the living room to that buffet and get the tools that she needed, but they had stuff in the kitchen that they didn't need to have there. So I got her to switch the stuff around. So it's just little things to help people, grocery shopping effectively, organizing your kitchen, your tools, and your food. Yeah, a little bit of this and that. It's just a little book that can
But
help
that's
people.
wonderful because all
Mm-hmm.
those little tips
Yes.
put together probably save time, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
If I had to go all over the place looking for things to cook, I have basically what I use in my kitchen, but there has been times where I'm like, I have to go upstairs because it's in the attic. It's another different size dish or platter or something. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really important to organize your time when you're going to, like you say, going to cook something. Make sure you have all the ingredients in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Not having
Yes.
to stop and run to the store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, that's terrific. Um, do you find yourself in entertaining a lot?
No, we actually don't entertain very much. Um, I guess with COVID and um,
Oh yeah,
you know,
that
yeah.
it put a damper on everybody's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
social events, should we say?
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
I just
But
like simple, easy cooking, and cooking for a big crowd is not always that
well,
simple.
I think, and I would speak to when we get older.
Mm-hmm.
When we're younger, hey, yeah, come on, everybody, come over, let's have a. But when you get older, it takes a lot out of you to have a big crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Um, you know, I mean, my kids are all grown and have
Yeah.
kids of their own, and I love going there. But having them all together, and also it's very hard to get everybody together when your children grow up and they move away, and then there's grandchildren, there's the in-laws and stuff. So I have found myself that I'm cooking less for more people as I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten, so it is pretty interesting though.
Yes. And there's ways of making it simpler. You can have like appetizer type of food instead of a big gross dinner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's another thing about when you get older, I have found your appetite is not as hearty. And probably because you're not moving like a young person. Well, maybe we want to, but we don't. Um, but it's not like we're constantly on the run. As you get older, that seems to be a little bit more in the distance. So you're not as hungry and everything changes. So I can
Mm-hmm.
imagine, learning how to save time, cook simple is a little bit easier when you're just maybe the two of you or something, where you don't mind small plates.
Yes. Well, we do make bigger meals sometimes, and I made a tamale pie yesterday, and it'll be good for a couple of lunches and at least one more meal. So,
That's right. That's
I
right.
call it a heat and serve meal. So some of
I
it went in
think
the
they're
freezer.
great. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's great. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
should learn how to cook enough to last at least 2 days, maybe three,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
that's, and it also lessens food waste and spending. Cause I know a lot of people that go out. Oh my gosh, when they go out, I know people that go out like 5 or 6 nights a week. I'm
That's
thinking,
right.
that's like a mortgage payment.
I know. I know.
What's in the food as far as health goes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is terrific. So I know that you have a little something for all our viewers and listeners, and I was
Mm-hmm.
wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
I have a little ebook. It's called Feed Your Soul with Great Food, and it's a simpler version of my book. I brought it out before my book. And it also includes a code which will give you 30 minutes with me if you would like
Wow,
to have some private chat time.
that
Mm-hmm.
sounds like a good idea. I know the people are listening and watching are thinking, oh, wouldn't that be cool to get a little info on how to do things, especially time management in the kitchen and organizing your kitchen is such a big thing. But I am so thrilled and happy that you were able to be here today. And you're going to be just showering our audience with wonderful ideas. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peggy. Appreciate it.
What if food wasn't the enemy, but just a messenger? You're not weak or broken. You have just been coping with emotions the only way you knew, through food. Stress eating after work, sugar cravings when exhausted, Guilt after giving in again? When you pause, breathe, and tune in, you shift from survival to self-awareness. You eat with intention, not impulse. You feel back in control. Healing starts with one mindful step, and I want to offer you a free access to my exclusive programs inside my school community. A supportive space created specifically for professional women just like you, who are tired of the guilt, confusion, and the all-nothing approaches to food and body confidence. And here's what you'll find inside. Courses that help you understand patterns and break